make a move and the bunny gets it.
I said, put the bunny back in the box. Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
It's showtime.
Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I wanna know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I wanna know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Sometimes, there is more story to find.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to my Monday show, The Bunny is Thinking. Let me make sure that... my Monday show. Okay. All right. Thursday, evidently, I did 17 minutes of the show without my mic working. So, just making sure. Anyway. Okay. Hey, Elizabeth. Welcome to the show. And Wrangler, my ride or die. Good to see you back, my friend. Okay. All right. So, I did a little bit of a poll on this particular topic. So, let me see here. Let me pull it up right quick. All right. So, after 11 votes, the question was, is fan fiction good? Is fan fiction bad? Is it irrelevant? Okay. And so, the fan fiction good is 45%. Fan fiction irrelevant is 36%. And is fan fiction bad? 18%. Okay. So, the majority of people thought it was good. But then I had comments like this. Fan fiction, properly regarded, can be a great literary exercise. Fan fiction taken to extreme and ultimately destructive. That's from young Lamont. He pretty much summed up a lot of what we're going to talk about today. And I did get some other comments. Let me go to, let's see. All right. Fanfic is poison. Fanfic is poison. Never make it public. At best, it's practice. At worst, it's wallowing like lying in a dumpster at McDonald's and proclaiming you know cuisine. Okay. So that is, what am I playing? I don't think I'm playing anything. Sorry. Fanfiction can be very good. Just take a look at Star Trek XNR. Yeah, I've seen it. Not sure what I'll be playing. Um, sorry, Ian. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that, my friend. Feel free to clarify. All right. So, let me see if there's any other comments. All right. I don't see any other ones worth bringing up here. All right. So, I did promise a little bit of a confession. And my confession is I started out in fanfiction. Now, let's talk about, why fanfiction matters. Okay. Now, fanfiction, once upon a time, was basically people who watched something, enjoyed it, but kind of wish it went in a direction different, or thought there was more story to tell, or saw stories in the cracks of what they were seeing on screen that they thought that they could tell that story. And when you see a lot of fan fiction, used to that meant that your IP was alive and well. It meant that it touched people, caused an impact. People had it pinballed in their brain. In other words, it was impacting them, their everyday life. And it caused them to tell their own stories. Now, the best fiction causes people to tell their own stories. Now, if you see an IP that has a lot of fiction, or fan fiction, then you have an IP that's alive, and it is making a cultural impact. Like Sherlock Holmes still has a ton of fan fiction. I know, I wrote some of it. I'm going to address that. Harry Potter has a ton of fan fiction. I know, I wrote some of that. But you'd be surprised at some of the most thriving fan fiction cultures might be from things that you wouldn't expect. And now, that's what it started out as. It was a positive way for people to interact with an IP. It would show their stuff to other people, and to kind of revel in it together. And that's kind of what it started out as. Okay? It was just another extension of fandom. And because of that, the extended universe of Star Wars, some of those people started out writing Star Wars fan fiction. And then they were approved by Lucasfilm to publish these books. And some of them became very, very, very successful from publishing what essentially was fan fiction. Now, as soon as Kathleen Kennedy came in, she threw that out. All that goodwill, all that enthusiasm, all of that world building that she could have used to widen the scope of her IP. There were sequels already written, like Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire. Still a seminal back of frame. I read any Star Trek fan fiction or anything. As soon as I heard it, Star Trek's publishing more. Star Wars is publishing more work. And I picked it up, and it felt like, okay, this is where I expected it to head. This is what I expected it to do after Return of the Jedi. And Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire was what everybody expected when the sequels or the sequels were announced, basically, by Disney. And that's not what we got. Not by any stretch of the imagination. But anyway. But fan fiction at its best, at its purest form, is just an extension of an IP, of a fandom of an IP. Star Trek has a ton of fan fiction. A ton. I think Voyager might have the most fan fiction. And I'm not sure what that is. Why that is? I think it's because of some Chakotay and Janeway shippers. That's we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Not quite ready to go there yet. Anyway, so fan fiction. I mean the Harry Potter fan fiction. Some of these fan fiction communities are really, really curated, and you have to have a beta reader that looks through it and makes sure it's canon compliant. I had a lot of trouble. I tried to kind of like do my own, and I was having trouble getting it through the beta reading process. I've got Blacklight Freddy. Some reason it's not showing up in here, my friend. But I see you. I see you there. Anyway. But I mean, they were really, really like exacting. Okay. And so, if you looked on some of these fan fiction websites, especially the Harry Potters, some of them, you would find like heavily curated fan fiction. That's that people have just gone through. Okay. I tried publishing there and I kept getting my butt kicked. I don't know why. I mean, I went through several moderators and it was nitpicky stuff. I mean, nitpicky stuff. And I pointed out to one of them that if the Harry Potter universe, if I'm writing a book that's after the last book, the Deathly Hallows, I'm writing a fan fiction of Albus Potter, the next generation, the son that we see at the end of Deathly Hallows. And I was like, why would everything be exactly the same in the Harry Potter universe? Because I was writing stuff like what I thought would go, or a little bit more technology, or more, or I was kind of inventing things that weren't in the original book that I thought would kind of happen later on. And I kept running into these people that were like, no, it's got to be. And so when I asked this lady, I was like, why wouldn't Harry Potter universe move? Why wouldn't it have progression? Why wouldn't it have technological changes? Why wouldn't it have like shifts in politics? It's like, how can you say it's all frozen in place? It's no. And she's like, I can't mod you anymore. You're just too combative. And I was like, okay. So I published, and it happens to be one of the most well reviewed fan base of Harry Potter, the Harry Potter. I didn't get through the series though, but I'm going to read you some of it. Okay, so so fan fiction existing is a good thing for your IP. It means that you have some energy. It means you have some movement. And fan fiction at its best, at its most pure, means that there's an interaction there. And I have seen authors read fan fiction and get inspired to do more. And it's like, oh, I didn't think of that angle, or I didn't think of that character. Of course, they're not going to like plagiarize. I've heard of some authors actually plagiarizing fan fiction. That's a thing that's happened. But I also heard of television shows plagiarizing fan fiction to write plots for the new season. I've seen that be proven in court. But there's an interaction there, okay? And do not... Okay. Now let's get to the dark side. I saw this coming in 2010 when I was heavily into the fan fiction arena. I was writing stuff and I was getting reviews back, and I was... At one point, I was considered one of the top next-gen Harry Potter fanfiction writers. To this day, I still have websites that are still devoted to my my story, and so I'm when I say that I know fanfiction, I was in it up to my eyeballs. Okay, and that's not bragging. That's just a fact. You can look it up. But the thing is what I was seeing come in. I saw the incoming of the shippers. And the shippers are a offshoot of progressive politics. And around about 2010 is when a lot of the progressive politics started entering into our culture. Like everywhere. But it started in fan fiction. And what I was seeing was a lot of shipping. What I was seeing was a lot of I don't even know anymore. Ash fiction, I think, something like that. But I've seen a lot of characters get gay swapped. Like characters, and suddenly they'd be gay, or two female characters and they would be gay. And then everything you read was there was like these subcultures that a little while there when I was watching Big Bang Theory. I wrote a story where Sheldon and Penny got together. It was like a challenge to myself as how that would be possible. And I wrote a story that was very well reviewed. But once I saw Amy Farrah Fowler, the character played by Mayim Bialik, come in, I was like, okay. I was like, all right, I'm moving on. But what I watched was when Amy Farrah Fowler shows up, and she's the perfect foil for Sheldon, and she's the perfect one. I mean, it's just a great casting. But I was seeing these people in this little subgroup they called themselves the Paradox or whatever. But I saw them like attack Mayim Bialik. Like, how dare you mess up our our canon in our head that those two belong together. And that one group just got really, really toxic. I left it pretty early on, but I saw actually Chuck Lorre of Big Bang Theory actually complain about it, that he was getting like attacked in social media by these people that were determined that Sheldon and Penny should be together. And I was like, so that's when I first realized what, the dark side of it, okay? So when fan fiction is a tribute, if it's a continuation of the story, if it's following the rules of the world, then it's a positive thing. But once it becomes convoluted, okay? Once it's attacking the creators, once it's trying to shape the world, once it's trying to force the sexual proclivities that they want onto the thing, then basically it becomes the cancer that people are calling out now, or the people that, why fan fiction has become such a byword. It went from a positive interaction to, a toxic morass of sharks that are determined. The Rylos are a good example of this. Kylo Ren and what's her name? What is her name? Rey. Okay, the Reylos. Sorry. Those are an example of fiction bad. These people had it in their heads so clearly that Rey and Kylo Ren needed to wind up together, that they were attacking Adam Driver. They were attacking his wife. They were trying to force Daisy into dating Adam Driver, who was married, I mean, all the fan pages were just full of these people, and they were attacking anybody and everybody that dared to suggest that those two aren't going to wind up together. As a matter of fact, J.J. Abrams probably deliberately killed off Kylo Ren because of that. And the thing about it is that that group that was so toxic, so terrifying, and so destructive, they are so determined to change things that they continued writing. And so when CRT and DEI came and started looking for specific groups of writers, ones that fit a certain political bent, a certain sexuality, a certain racial profile or whatever, that the people who were already in the writing rooms were not fitting. And so they were determined that they had to get this group of people, and the only ones I could find were fan fiction writers. And so they started plucking these fan fiction writers and putting them in the writing rooms. And you saw this come in pretty hard, especially in comics, the comics area. When MCU got popular, it got attention of this group of fan fiction writers, and they were like, "Oh, that's cultural impact. We need to go there." And so suddenly, when you look, and I'm not exaggerating, when you look through the people currently writing Marvel comics, DC comics, and you trace back to especially the most virulent, the most active, the most ones that do the most damage, will inevitably have started out in fan fiction around about 2010. I saw them come in. And so we're talking about two different things here. When I talk about fan fiction, I'm talking about two different things. Now I'm talking about a positive interaction extension of the IP and fandom. And I'm talking about toxic, over-the-top, empty activist. And they're part of the same group. They got all under the umbrella of fan fiction. And so, so when you talk about fan fiction, it's both good and bad. And it's almost evenly split. Because I know some fan fiction authors that have gone on and written, their own stuff and have been very successful. And if you read their stuff, their fan fiction, then you will see the ability. And when you're trying to learn to write, or when you're trying to learn to tell stories, using somebody else's universe for a little while and telling stories in that universe using their characters, playing with their toys, it can allow you some sort of freedom, to use somebody else's, to play with somebody else's universe for a little while. And plus you get the instant feedback from people who know what you're doing. And that can put you through kind of a crucible, because if they're fans, then they're going to be very precious. And so you learn to write within. Hold on a second. That one. I'll have to look that up. Awesome. Okay, well, but it's a great place to earn your bones. It's a great place to hone your gift, and it's a great place to learn to write on a schedule, to kind of do your research, to keep your quality up, because you get instant feedback, instant reviews from people. And I was into it for quite a while. It was a kind of a dark moment in my life where I didn't really have a lot going on, and it became something pretty important to me. So I read. So if you go on to fanfiction.net, then you'll find a account called Bartimus Crotchety. Okay, now Bartimus Crouch happens to be a character in Harry Potter, specifically Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and not a very pleasant guy. Not a very pleasant guy, but felt an old man. When I was writing in this, because most of it was young people, and so I was like, Bartimus Crotchety. Just did me. I spelled it different. It's not I think the spelling of Harry Potter is Bartimas, and I went with US. And it's his name, and I went with Crotchety. But it was the height of cleverness back then. But that's what I went by. And if you look it up now, hold on a second. Heads up, Greatest is a little on the sarcastic side. I was in the vein it was now called Romantasy, but I think that who was writing it realized how bad it was, and she continued as a parody. Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha. Yeah. Romantasy. That came from fanfiction. Yep. All these people came from fanfiction. Okay, they just did. But anyway, so if you look at my most reviewed works, then the number one is Harry Potter and the Year of the Badger. Okay. Let me get some mood music here. Hold on a second. I've already checked it. That's what took me, that's why I was a little late, but I already checked it. It should play okay. But let me get a little bit of this here. Kind of lower it down a little bit. So is it going to play for me? Okay, there it is. All right. Okay. Gotta play a little bit of that. All right. Okay. Chapter 1 of Albus Potter and the Year of the Badger. Compartmentalized. Albus Potter was making his way through the Hogwarts Express. His brown hair, which he attempted to tame into a part, still had a wayward cowlick waving in the back. Picking his way through the stream of students in black school robes with his trunk and owl, searching for an empty compartment. He knew that his parents expected him to stay with his big brother. They should have realized that in the last few weeks he had had enough of teasing from James Sirius Potter to do him for a lifetime. So, oh, you got that runty little slithery quality about you, James would say under his breath while Mom and Dad were out of the room. We might as well go ahead and get you some green robes now to match your eyes. James had actually put a common rat snake nicked from the park in Albus's sock drawer at one point. That prank earned him a private conference with Dad in the den, and once Albus was brought in to accept the apology, James remarked, "I'm sorry, Albus. I just thought you'd get on with the snake." After loading their belongings on the train and saying their goodbyes, Albus and Rose pushed their carts down the corridor. Their owls, Ron's big owl Celestina, and Albus's Nox, a smooth black long-winged eagle owl, were hooting softly in conversation in cages, stacked on top of the trunks. As they arrived outside the compartment they were supposed to ride in, they saw James entertaining some girls his age, bragging animatedly, and from the gestures he was making, it was obvious he was telling about the atrocities he'd visited upon his sensitive little brother in the last few weeks. Tied as twins with Rose Weasley since they were toddlers, it only took one silent look and a nod on her part for them to agree to defy his parents' wishes. So they passed James by and went to find another cart to ride in. But in spite of the stress from ducking his brother, Albus was enjoying his walk through the train. Bits of lively conversations echoed around him. The sense of history was everywhere. So many wizards had made this same journey in walking through these posh, red-paneled, carpeted hallways. Including in that number was one frightened, lonely boy named Harry with a lightning bolt scar on his brow on his way to destiny all those years ago. It was strange for Albus to think of his dad had been that small, alone, and scared, but he took courage from the thought. I won't bore you with the rest of it, but anyway. Alright, so, alright. Got the music? Anyway. But yeah, so I did do some writing in Harry Potter. Definitely one of the fandoms that I wrote in. I got stuck in the second book. I didn't get finished through the second book, and there was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 more planned. But that was what I started. Gotta go. Have a good one, everybody, and God bless. Yeah. See you, Wrangler. You always gotta go, man. It doesn't matter when I do my show. If I do it 6 o'clock, you gotta go. If I do it 7 o'clock, you gotta go. I mean, seriously, dude. Can you not make it through an entire show? I'm joking. He's been my most consistent companion for about 2 or 3 years now. Anyway, so that was my Harry Potter, and the Penny Sheldon story, if you want to read that one, is the Reverse Pygmalion Paradox. Was the name of it? Kind of based on the naming that they did in the Big Bang Show. I was basing the story off, or the name off of that one. Now, another fandom that I wrote a lot in was the Sherlock Holmes fandom. Okay. Now, let me read my first story. This was actually a short story, so I think it's pretty short enough. But let me read that one for you. Got to get the appropriate music. Hold on. Alrighty. Let's see which one is this. Yep. Alright. Let me play that. Get a little bit. My favorite Sherlock Holmes is probably Jeremy Brett from the Grenada series. But I do have a soft spot in my heart for Livanov from the Russian one. And there we go. Got a little jaunty little violin music. Okay, there you go. The Brick and Strain. I can't do this anymore, Holmes, Watson said, standing in the drawing room windows. Holmes had just come back from Scotland Yard to find his erstwhile flatmate in a reflective mood. Sherlock did not feel overly concerned. They had had conversations like this before. Watson turned to him, and Holmes saw it. This was not going to be as their other talks. You used me, he said, simply, his posture stiff, his hands clasped behind his back in a military manner. He had lost most of those mannerisms in the course of their life together, but seeing them return was not a good sign. I did not use you, Watson. I merely took advantage of information that fell to me due to your ongoing affiliation with someone who must. The world's only consulting detective did not equivocate or apologize. It galled him that he felt he might need to change that policy. This was Watson. He would come around. He always had before. Consistency had always been one of his hallmarks. Watson's face was empty, distant. All the humor and kindness that had shone from his eyes since Holmes and he had been acquainted was missing. Like color green on a snowy winter's day. It was back before we became acquainted, and you always know from the first. And yet you allowed me to spend my affections and grow attached while you constructed your case using information I inadvertently provided. I can see even now how oblivious you are to what you have done. Holmes was affronted. And what is this vile deed I have done exactly, dear Watson? What blight have I created to your happiness? I allowed nature to take her course, and you created your own affiliation, one which brought you enjoyment, and I did not intervene because it was not in the realm of my business to do so. His companion turned away, causing Holmes to think he had penetrated his sudden icy veil. But then the man spoke. It was not in the realm of your business to do so, if we were but associates, but as a friend. That's good enough. All right. Okay. So, I did a lot of writing in the Harry Potter area. And my biggest group of books, it was 5 books connected in one narrative. It was called Dr. John Watson, Police Surgeon, Scotland Yard. It's a little long, a little lengthy, but it was just what it was. But that book, it was like 5 different books. It was written in the time period where Sherlock Holmes was elsewhere. He was thought to be dead, and so we know from Empty House, the book when he came back, that Watson and Scotland Yard were collaborating. Now, there was a position in the police work back then called the police surgeon, and they were pretty much the forensic experts. And as a matter of fact, Sherlock Holmes came from Conan Doyle knowing one called Alfred Bell. who was a police surgeon. So a lot of Sherlock Holmes came from that. And so, I made John Watson a police surgeon because he'd been with Sherlock Holmes all this time. He had to pick up some detective skills. Plus, he was an army doctor, so those guys had seen it all. It had strong stomachs. It just made sense. And the story, I mean, it was so easy to write. It was just effortless to write. So that is definitely one of my most famous things that I've written. But I also got into Batman, by the way. Busy. Henry Rice. That was a real good one. But let me find it. But another I think I passed it. Hold on. But man, okay. Was pretty active. MASH fandom is pretty active. They still have a lot of energy there. But mostly Hawkeye fan fiction. They really like their Hawkeye. Where is that? But I did write one. It's pretty long. It's called Closer Than a Brother. Where is that one? Don't know why it's not coming up. I know it's still there. 1 second. All right. Well, I won't be reading that then. It was it bothers me because I was. Oh, there it is. I went right by it. I went right by it. Anyway. But it was basically Hawkeye informed that who he was with all the way to the end was not doing well mentally. Is in a mental hospital, and he had to go and check on him. Or he was asked by BJ's wife to come out and see if he could help. The point of view of Hawkeye. And I kind of like, figure out how to write as him. It's an interesting challenge. If you're gonna read anything MASH, you know what I have to play. This one might get me struck a little bit. I don't know, but I gotta play it. I just have to. Anyway. All right. I heard it coming. Yeah. There it is. All right. Yep. Got it. Anyway, this is chapter 3 of Closer Than a Brother. Phantom Limb. So, one heated argument with hospital administrator and chief lackey. Check. One intervention by a kind-hearted psychologist. Just check. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah. And one extra caught in an overfilled bureaucratic hellhole. Check. Damn, it was just like old times. The only thing I was missing was the pointed and viciously accurate aside from my second in command. You would have had a field day with this gas bag, Beej. He was a prime honeycut target if I've ever seen one. However, once they realized what that I've ever had found out that Benjamin Franklin Pierce is the most stubborn jackass in all recorded history, and they let me into your room. I knew what I was dealing with before I left Maine. I believed that I had some concept from the pain I saw in Peg's eyes, but seeing you like that, Beach, it was like getting a draft notice all over again. I'm not ashamed to say I was scared out of my mind. So, that's good enough. But, that's actually the one I still get a lot of work on, or still get a lot of interaction on. I had one lady say that she was reading it, and she got so into it that she was on the floor of a casino, and she's supposed to be gambling, and she wound up reading my book the whole entire night instead of gambling. And I was like, or reading my story. Hey, what's up, Wookie? Good to see you, my friend. But that being said, is that fan fiction is still got some positive aspects to it. It still has some good things to offer. And it's not a stepping stone. It's an entity up to itself. But a lot of good people, a lot of writers, a lot of really successful writers, some of the people that you know very well started out writing fan fiction. Stephen King, if you read On Writing, he started out writing in other people's universes before he started finding his own voice. So fan fiction is, well, it's a byword now. And while it's and it has caused the people that came out of it weren't contained in it. It was like the cancer, where the cancer started was in fan fiction. And then it metastasized everywhere else. And I saw it happening. The psychology of it, I couldn't tell you why suddenly all these young girls started showing up into the fan fiction ranks. And suddenly everything was sexualized. I mean, I'm not talking sexualized. I'm talking about nightmarish, pornography. That, I mean, I would read some of it, and it's obvious that this young girl had probably never had sex in her whole entire life. Because she was writing, like, a gay sex thing happening that would be physically impossible. And I kind of wrote several joke pieces about that. And so it's like everything became, about subverting. Everything became about twisting. Everything became about altering the nature of the story to fit some arbitrary thing that they had in their head that they wanted it to be, that it wasn't. And energy to quit, to change, pervert. I'm gonna say pervert because it was a lot perverted stuff. And it all came around 2010. And I and look through the newest stuff coming out of, some of some great writers. I'd find some really great stories, and but I would really enjoy. Sorry, I already highlighted that one, But I would really enjoy reading new stories in these universes, and the people would have some great takes, enjoyable stuff, and I would it was almost like you're reading the next chapter in the story, because these people are that good. And I know several of them that got publishing contracts afterwards, and they basically had to take their stuff down because their own stuff was being published. But then it became like something entirely different. And it was no longer an honor. It was no longer a homage. It became a attempt to transform, to make it something it was not. And I really don't know where this desire came from. Why that level of perversion? Because you see it now all over the place. They call it mommy porn or book talk porn or my friend John Douglas uttered stuff. You see the brand new of the brand new stuff at Barnes and Noble or Target or someplace like that, and you will see like book after book after book after book, and they're all basically started as fan fiction of something else, and then they just changed names or changed concepts, and it's filthy. Okay, lest you think I am exaggerating. There's a book called 50 Shades of Grey that came out and took the world by storm. And it's horrific. And that started, that lady, E.L. James, started out writing Twilight fan fiction. Yeah. So Kristen Steele and Kristen Grey and Anastasia Steele, love those names. They actually started out as Edward and Bella. And all the S&M stuff, all that stuff happened what was in that fan fiction. And she had so many of her fans of this smut tell her that, man, if you could just publish, it would make a lot of money. And so she changed the names, changed the details, and published it. And she's a best-selling author. And it was fanfic. It was just fanfic. I actually went to a fanfic group city over, and those people were horrible. They were horrible. They were impossible to talk to. And they were all progressive. They were all far left. And and everything was about politics. And when I did a thumbnail for this, I asked Grok to just see what it would come up with. I asked Grok to form me a thumbnail that was meant to portray fan fiction. And I saw all this gender stuff popping up. And I looked at the description, because when you leave it open, Grok makes its own descriptions. And in the description, it said, gender icons. So even Grok thinks that fan fiction's all about gender smut. And this all came into our art first. And it all started with the fan fiction. Because fan fiction is the first, like the very first layer. The very first introduction of fandom. And pretty much like the first encounter you will have with the fans is fan fiction. And it's become such a byword. It's become such a negative thing. It's become such a horrific, like, entity that it really makes me sad, because I know these people, that there's still people that write fanfic that no longer share it because it's become something that you're supposed to be ashamed of. Like that guy told me, don't share that you're a fan fiction writer. That's like somebody, grabbing Big Macs out of a dumpster behind a McDonald's and calling it saying that they know cuisine. That's what it's become. And that's sad. It's sad because so much good stuff has come out of people writing fan fiction. So many good stories. So many other IPs have come out from people who cut their teeth writing something else. And then at some point, they found their own voice. You know how many people wrote Sherlock Holmes fan fiction and later came out with their own detectives that are kind of based on Sherlock Holmes? Thousands. As a matter of fact, almost all modern detective fiction came from somebody writing Sherlock Holmes fan fiction. That's how that pretty much created the whole entire genre. The same thing with Tolkien. People wrote their own Middle-earth fan fiction so much, and then they would change this detail over here or change this detail over here. That's why so much of it has like orcs, dwarves, elves, because it's all Tolkien fan fiction. So fan fiction is not a bad thing. Fan fiction is taking some art that you've seen that inspired you, and taking that inspiration, filtering it through yourself, and eventually creating something new. Fan fiction is like the beginning of that. But what it's become, it's become not an act of creativity, it's become an act of twisting and perversion and destroying and forcing yourself onto an IP where you don't belong. It's no longer an act of communion, it's an act of assault. And those people who got used to assaulting other IPs and other art are now in our writing rooms all over culture doing the same thing. Except now they're in charge of multi-billion-dollar IPs. And what we're getting is what you see. And you're wondering, well, why can you not hit this layup? Why do you think that you got to make a black Snape? Why do you think that the Doc is female? Why do you think that, characters that have been historically have to suddenly be into dudes or into women or whatever? Why? It's the same idea. It's the same urge that took over fanfiction. And now it's destroying our culture. It's destroyed Hollywood. Now you see something like Project Hail Mary. Now, Project Hail Mary is basically taking some of these ideas that you find in that Andy Weir saw in fiction. As a matter of fact, he loves Star Trek, and he was inspired by Star Trek, inspired by the space-going adventures. And so, but when you read Project Hail Mary, it may have started as that, but it became something entirely unique and entirely original and entirely organic, which is why people love it so much. So, fan fiction doesn't have to be a bad word. If you're out there writing fan fiction, share it. If you're out there, coming up with new adventures with your favorite IP, intellectual properties, then there's nothing wrong with that. Just because it got perverted and destroyed like everything else doesn't mean that it's still not a positive thing. So that's all I got to say for today. Thank you all for coming. And if you want to check that out, Bartimus Crotchety is my fanfiction page. If you want to read those stories that I started today, they're all there. And there's plenty of other fandoms I touched. I was all over the place. And I stand by every story that's over there. I'm very proud of my dark days of fanfiction writing. So anyway, but I got new stuff I'm writing right now that you can also participate in. There's a link in the description of my latest, what I'm working on now. I didn't stop there. I didn't stop at fanfiction. But anyway, that's been Cooper from the White Rabbit.